Hi there. Welcome to Friday Fire. I'm your host, Brenda Vaca, coming to you live from Sehatna, unceded Tongva territory, otherwise known
Hi
as
there.
South Whittier, California. Let me make sure that that's off. Going live on YouTube this morning, this beautiful Friday morning, with the leader of the band, Quetzalcoatl Band. Going live, excited to go live, been looking forward to this particular Friday Fire. I've got with me Cipatli Nezahualcóyotl, and just want to read a little bit about Quetzalcoatl Band and Cipatli as well. I'm excited to hear some música. Welcome. So glad you were able to join me this morning. All right, so let's get right into it. Quetzalcoatl Band is a Chicano cumbia rock band from the IE. We fuse rock cumbia and mexica rhythms to create what we call tribal rock. The band has been together since 2015 and has gone through various incarnations through the years. However, the message of the band still remains intact. Our music is the reflections of the Chicano lifestyle in Southern California. Quetzalcoatl has released 2 full-length albums, La Catrina 2016 and Rise of the People of the Sun 2020, as well as 5 music videos, which you got to check out, y'all. Currently, the band is in the studio recording their 3rd full-length album and has 4 dates coming up, including later tonight, Friday, June 30th at Bricks Bar in Maywood, California. What's up, Southeast Los Angeles County, Sela? Saturday, August 5th at the Whiskey A Go-Go, West Hollywood. And Saturday, October 7th at Brew Fiesta Festival in Beaumont, California. So really excited again to be here with Cipatli Nezahualcóyotl. And feel free to correct me again if I'm saying your name incorrectly, Cipatli. I'm really thrilled to have you on and excited to get right into it.
Awesome. Thank you for the invite. I do want to add one thing before we move forward. There is another date happening. That's going to be La Mas Festival in Rialto. That's going to be October 22nd. That's a Sunday. And that's also a free event, just like the Brew Fest in Beaumont.
Beautiful. So everyone, you guys got to hop on board. I'm gonna do my best to make it out to Maywood tonight. If not, Whiskey A Go-Go is also on my calendar. That looks like a dope show.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Let's dive into a song, right?
Let's dive into a song. Yeah,
this one's called Como los Lobos, like the wolves. It's a little love ballad. And even though we do a lot of political stuff, every once in a while we can't forget about love, right? Love is important. Can you hear the guitar? Or it needs to be louder?
I think it needs to be louder.
That better or no?
No, it was on a while ago. We were testing this out earlier.
Okay, no worries. I know what I will do. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, no worries. As you guys know, usually I live stream to Instagram, so we're experimenting with this YouTube live stuff and just trying to get it on more platforms. For maximum exposure, we want to get our message out about our storytellers, our musicians, our artists in these times, for me, have been a lifeline. So I appreciate folks like Cipatli willing to experiment with this cause.
Absolutely. Órale. Okay, I think I have it. So here we go. Is that good, right?
That's good. Yes, we can hear you.
Here we go.
Oh, it's popping in and out, Cipatli.
Como las aves aman al cielo, como los peces adoran el agua, como los lobos admiran la luna. I love you, just like the wind winters love fire, just like the fish enjoy the ocean, just like the wolves that mother moon. Que quiero eres mi vida, mi amor. You're the only one for me. Perfection, my love. I love you. Like the beaches love the ocean. Like the fish enjoy the ocean. Just like the wolves at my moon. Como las aves aman al cielo, como los peces adoran el agua, como los lobos admiran la luna. Que quiero mi amor. Hear it?
Can't hear it.
Really?
Yeah, it was popping in and out. For a minute, we were hearing you in a tunnel.
Really?
Yeah, it's so I definitely when you get up close to the mic, I can hear you. But the guitar, it like pops in and out.
Really?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I heard
That's
about the
okay.
fish in the water though. And I was
That's
like,
typical.
I want to get into it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I need to be real close, I guess, to the mic, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then the guitar wasn't loud enough.
No, and right now your solo jam was like completely silent for
Wow.
some reason. Yeah. Oh, technical difficulties on this
Yeah.
Friday morning.
Yes, no worries. We could try it one more time, but yeah, I mean, let's proceed with the interview. You know, we can always.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We're rolling with it. And, we were me and Sipakli were talking earlier about how it's been hard to keep up with technology, right? We got to keep up with technology and there's so many changes constantly. So yeah, we're rolling with the punches. But Sipakli, I wanted to ask you about the history of your band. I know you guys are out of the IE. Where are you broadcasting from today? Are you in Riverside?
I'm in Riverside.
Right on. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the history of Quetzalcoatl band and
Yeah.
how long have you guys been together? And all of a sudden I'm seeing you on my timeline. I'm seeing you on my feed, folks posting you up, and I'm like, ooh, this looks like just a wonderful band. And I love the energy of your posts and checking out your music videos. But I'd love to hear about the history of your community together.
Yeah, man. I was excuse me, I was kind of in a really bad spot for a while. Things weren't going very well for me. And I had just come out of a divorce. I was pretty much lost everything. I was lost my job, it was not good. I went from the manager of a retail grocery chain to working at a gas station.
Mm,
So it wasn't really good. I was going to court. It was not going well. Then I decided to go to school. So I went to get my associates.
mhm,
And while I was in school, um, I'd say about, I don't know, a couple of months into the school year, I um I woke up one day. I just it just hit me. I didn't even wake up. It was like late in the evening. I got up, I was watching TV, and I was like, hey, what if someone did something like cumbia rock, you know?
mm,
I don't think I've ever heard that. I mean, I've heard Juanes, but I don't know, like a little more edge, more rock, and adding some like Aztec rhythms or Mexica rhythms in there would be cool because I've never heard that. And I don't know if or some of the people out there listening, but like cumbia and all that, that's more African actually
mhm,
than the native here to
right.
this continent. So I mean, we've made it our own, because of the colonialism and everything that happened, all the interchanging of ideas between different communities, races, and cultures, but basically still the base of that is like cumbia, salsa, merengue, cumbia. It's all African.
Mhm,
So I started messing around. I started listening to a lot of cumbias and kind of started trying to make it more rock. And then eventually I put an ad out for musicians. My drummer, I'd been in rock bands with him before, just straight alternative type rock music.
mhm,
So I asked him if he, was down to play some like Latin rock or cumbia infused stuff, and he was like, "Sure." I mean, I've never played Latin stuff, but I'll do it. So that's how it started. We had a couple of musicians come in and out. It was real difficult at first because a lot of people were like, "I don't know what you're trying to do." They Most people were like, "You want to play cumbias, right?" And then when we started doing we started playing original stuff, they were kind of like, "That's not cumbia though. That's kind of like more." They didn't know what it was. They were like, "I don't know what you're trying to do. It's kind of
mm,
weird."
mm,
There was some people that were kind of hip to it. They were like, "Oh, kind of like Juanes, kind of like
mhm,
Juanes or that, or Caifanes, kind of like
mhm.
that." So that was pretty good. But the more we went on, I did kind of find that more people were like, "Are you guys?" They were confused. Even today, people are confused. They're like, "Are you cumbia? Are you rock? What are you like? You guys are like in limbo. We don't know what to do." It's
Always trying to put us in categories, right?
they do. So, anyways, so it was a drummer first. Then I ended up getting a keyboard player, Anomaly Productive, started playing with us, and then a bass player, Sammy Bass Hands, and then a trumpet player that played percussion,
Mm,
Boris. And so that was the first band. But after a while, things happen, life happens. We had a lot of plans for us to, after we released our first album, like Katrina, to release another album right away. But the pandemic came in and it kind of stopped a lot of things. Our brother Boris, he had to go back to Chile because he's from Chile.
mhm,
So he was attending at university, but they passed that law that if you weren't going to school in person, you had to go back. So
right.
he ended up going back, and then we ended up doing an event, and we all got COVID.
Oh
We all got COVID, and some
gosh.
of us got it worse than others.
Mm,
Our bass player ended up in the hospital for like
mm,
3 weeks,
mm,
and our drummer ended up with pneumonia that started off as COVID,
mhm.
and then it developed into pneumonia. And I was out for the count for about 6 months.
Oh my gosh, because it affects your voice.
It didn't affect my voice, but
Mm,
I can really hold anything down.
mm.
I went from like 200 pounds to about 140. I
Not
was
the way
like,
you want to be losing weight. No, not at all.
no, no,
Uh,
I couldn't hold any food in.
uh,
It was terrible. Like even now, I still feel sometimes. kind of like certain, it's not the same,
Yeah.
after we got it. But after that, I started, after I got better and healed, I got the drummer back online. I got other musicians back on, and we kept rolling. We released another album, and we've been going hard ever since. We toured Mexico City,
Ooh, how
toured.
exciting.
We went to Tijuana. We've played San Diego, of course, all around LA and the Inland Empire. But ever since we came out, I mean, I don't know about you, if you've seen these kinds of bands. I mean, there's always been Chicano bands, of course,
Mhm.
but I never really seen a big movement as it is now. I don't know if you would agree with me on that.
Yeah, no, I feel like they're in general, like the artistry from the Chicana community is thriving right now. You know,
It is.
something kicked us up several notches during the pandemic. That was horrible for so many people, but at least for me and my artistry, like it made me go even deeper, right? And to be like, this is time in life is so fragile. So, there for me, I see that there's a renaissance going on, not just among poets and storytellers, but musicians también, so it looks like it looks like it's popping off. And you're right, your sound is unique. If anyone is familiar with your music, a person does ask, you're not easily categorized. And I think that is an absolute reflection of our reality, right?
Yeah,
Because we cannot be easily categorized. We have all of these elements that are part of our history and our DNA.
right. And with our music, I feel that we incorporate the Mexica rhythms. We incorporate, what quote unquote Latin music,
Mm,
cumbia, merengue, salsa, but mariachi as well. But we include rock, hip hop elements. I mean, that's what it is to be a Chicano or Chicana in Southern California. You listen to your parents, you listen to Vicente Fernandez, Tigres del Norte, Los Bukis, but you
yeah,
listen to hip hop, you listen to rock, you listen to
right.
reggae, and then
Mhm.
as a Chicano or Chicana, you just take it in, and it comes out as a more complex thing, with your identity, with
Mhm.
your roots, with your history, and the music as a background, like a puzzle, right?
That's right.
And you just put little bits of everything in there.
Mhm.
But I mean, I'm really excited about everything that's going on. There's a lot of Chicana owned businesses
Mhm.
popping up everywhere,
Yeah.
stronger than ever. A lot of pop-up events that are filled with our traditions, with our histories, and not just that, but what inspires me is that what I wanted to do with this band when it came out, I was like, there's nobody talking about us really,
Mhm.
and now all of a sudden there's this explosion where, I mean, people will correct you, hey, that's wrong, this is the history, and that's great,
Right.
because there are a lot of people that even today they really don't know our history.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate that we're in a situation where in Southern California, it's such a cosmopolitan area where we interact with many quote unquote Latino people, but uh, what we really need to work on is going beyond that, because when you have people that are like Colombian, but they were born here,
Mhm.
around all this, chicanismo, everything. I think it's like they're part of us now, because they're not, you know, El Salvador, Guatemala, Colombia, Nicaragua. It's you're here, you're not there. And
Right.
another thing, I feel that I think it's really important that we embrace who we are, and
Mhm.
bring that word Chicana back to life, because it was
Mhm.
kind of dead for a while.
Yes, it was.
And and not just identify, but sep- I don't want to say separate, but
Distinguish, maybe.
yes, distinguish. Just
Mhm.
because I don't know if it's happened to you, but when I've gone to Mexico, even though I still have family in Mexico, and most of my family is in El DF, in el
Mhm.
Distrito Federal, but right away they're like, hey, tú no eres de aquí. Like the people know, you're like, tú no eres mexicano. Like they'll tell you straight out, tú no eres mexicano, tú vienes de otro, even though I was born in Mexico, I was born in Ciudad Nezahualcóyotl, Estado de Mexico. When I speak Spanish, they're like, hey, tú no eres de aquí, tú de dónde eres? You know, and even if you tell them, or no matter how hard we try, but they're like, hey man, I'm Mexican or Mexican American, but when you go over there, you're not.
Absolutely. We have a distinct experience. You know what I have come across too recently in the poetry world, especially among the mujeres, is some of the Mexicanas identifying with Chicanismo and identifying as Chicana writers, which I trip out on because I'm like, that my whole life, whenever I'd go over there or if family would come over here, never Mexican enough, never fitting in that identity. And then all of a sudden, um, something is pulling these Chicana or these Mexican feminist writers to claim this identity. And at first I was like, no, you know, like it's such a, I suddenly turned into that person, like, tú no eres de aquí, right? And I was like, wait a minute. I know what it feels like to be on the other side. At the end of the day, we have to claim our own identities, right? And we are the only ones that can say who we are.
Right. For example, I 100% agree. For example, I wasn't born here. Like I said, I was born in Mexico, Distrito Federal, but I was brought over here at 8 months. So all I know is here. So when people ask me, what do I identify with? I feel I'm native Chicano. I don't really feel Mexican. Like if somebody, oh, you know, have you ever been in these parts or whatever? And even though I know about them or I have been there, I wasn't there all my life growing and experiencing that lifestyle, that culture, because our lifestyle and culture over here is different.
So different.
You know, and so that's one thing. So that's why we push Chicano tribal rock, Chicano cumbia rock, because it's not Mexican, it's not American or you know, or Gavachoized. It's Chicana. That's the experience, you know.
That's right. I love that. And down to your name, you know, I noticed that I was going to ask you about the history of your name as well. Because I know it's not. Yeah, tell us about if you want to switch gears to that a little bit, because now that we're talking about identity, your last or the second name is also your birthplace. Is that right? Did I hear that right? Yeah.
Right. So you were asking me about my name or the band's name?
Your name.
My name. Right.
And then I'll ask you about the band's name.
Right. So it's basically my tonali. You know, so when you look at the Aztec calendar, and you can go online, there's certain websites that are really legitimate in regards to putting in your date of birth and seeing what year or what part of the calendar you were born in regards to the fifth sun, la piedra del quinto sol. Right. So mine was Zipacli, you know, so the lizard, right? And so I took that as my first name and the end Zipac Nezahualcóyotl for the city that I was born in. Now, I consider that my native name, you know, because my real name is Paul Ramirez, which is European name. So, you know, and that's another thing. Growing up, you know, I grew up in the 80s. I'm about to date myself. I grew up in the 80s, and growing up in the 80s, man, you know, people did a lot of weird things that were racist, man. And it was like nothing to them. I remember being in an English class. I had a teacher, and I grew up in South Central LA. Hits up South Central, you know, and going to Carver Junior High School, South Central LA, and my English teacher, you know, a European American guy, he was like, when he was doing the roll call, he was like, Paul, is there a Paul in here? I raised my hand. He's like, I never seen a Mexican Paul. I was like, what? Like, are you sure your name is not Pablo? Are you sure your name is not Pablo? I'm like, no, it's Paul. Oh my gosh. That's on my birth certificate. Like he couldn't believe it. And it, you know, things like that, you know, we've come a long way. Like that would just not roll today. Like, why would you even question what the name?
That's just so crazy.
Right. So yeah, so I mean, I decided consciously to change my name over to Zipacli Nezahualcóyotl. It's my native name. Now, I don't really know too much about my history.
Mm.
It's been lost. So, you know,
Mm.
I also felt like Malcolm X, right? You don't know who you are. I mean,
Right.
they give you a name, but where does my last name come from? Ramirez.
Mm.
And, you know, I did some research into that. I mean, Ramirez comes from Ramiro. So
Mhm.
some guy came over here. I don't know. He settled, took some women, native women with him, and he's like, you know, you're Ramirez now.
Mhm.
But that's not our name.
No.
So I really don't use my real name unless I need to.
Mhm.
So that's why I changed it to Cipacli and Nezahualcóyotl. And plus, Cipacli, I love that it's a lizard. I
Yeah.
love the history behind Cipacli and the battle with Quetzalcoatl. You know, Quetzalcoatl had to kill him,
Mhm.
and Tezcatlipoca, his brother, too. They joined forces to kill Cipacli to make the world.
Mm.
I don't know if you know that
I
story.
don't know. There's so many aspects of our story that I'm still learning and trying to catch up with because, like you said, we were completely separated from that
Right.
history. So no, speak on.
Right. So Cipacli was a large lizard. Some people call it a large crocodile, but it was a sea creature. I don't know, weighed probably 20, 30 tons. It was huge. And Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca were you know, charged with making the earth, the planet. So, but the planet at that time was all ocean.
Mhm.
So Tezcatlipoca and Nezahualcóyotl came to the ocean to kill Cipacli. So that's basically killing the old world to
Mhm.
create a new world for us.
Mm.
So Tezcatlipoca got his leg chopped off. Cipacli chopped off his leg, and Quetzalcoatl ended up killing um, Cipacli. And with Cipacli's body, that became the land
Mm. Yeah.
part of the, yeah. And so that's that story. It's more intricate than that, of
Yeah.
course, but that's
You're
basically
saying
the
it. I'm
gist
like,
of
I
it.
know this story. Yeah, of
Right.
course. Yeah.
So it's you know, it's an amazing story. And you know, the reason we pick Quetzalcoatl is because it's such a strong entity in our culture. Now there's two Quetzalcoatls. You know, a lot of people, they think it's one and the same, but really there's two. There's the mythology of Quetzalcoatl, and then
Mhm.
there's the man Quetzalcoatl,
Mm.
right? So the
Mhm.
mythology is obviously the feathered serpent,
Right.
right? Which is a you know, one of the biggest, people call it the you know, deity or
Mhm.
god in the Aztec pantheon, right? And but the man is, you know, according to Mexican scholars, um, there was a man that came and he took on the name Quetzalcoatl, and he brought a lot of information and culture to the, excuse me, to the Mexicas.
Mhm.
You know, he brought the notion of no more sacrificing.
Mhm.
No, he brought the notion of agriculture.
Mhm.
You know, he brought the notion of order. He brought the notion of, like, you know, a lot of people think about what's that drink, pulque,
Pulque.
right?
Mhm.
Pulque, that, you know, is bien mexicano, like it's great to drink pulque. uh, Quetzalcoatl banned pulque
Mm.
from Tenochtitlan. There was
Mhm.
no pulque allowed, and
Wow.
people who were, you know, heavy drinkers were
Mhm.
frowned upon. They exiled you from Tenochtitlan. You
Mm.
know, the writings from Bernal and other Spanish people that came to Tenochtitlan,
Mhm.
you know, told about how clean the city was, how educated the natives were. The children went to school. They were very strict. You know, there was a strict way of living.
Mhm.
So that was something that Quetzalcoatl left behind. You
Mhm.
know, now obviously, what ended up happening is Tezcatlipoca assisted with getting rid of Quetzalcoatl. He poisoned him,
Mm.
poisoned him, and what ended up happening is Quetzalcoatl ended up having sex with his sister.
Mm.
And when Quetzalcoatl finally came back from the drug induced, which people think what was given to him was pulque.
Mm.
What he came back from that, he was so shamed that he decided to leave. And
Mm.
that's that part where he leaves, he makes a raft and leaves. But he did tell the people that he would return one day,
Mhm.
and he left. So that's where it all ended for the man, right?
Mhm.
But Quetzalcoatl is such a strong entity, and I believe it reflects our history, our art, our power, our
Mhm.
self-determination.
Mhm.
You know, as you know, our people are very resilient. El que
Yes.
quiere lo hace, y el que no es porque no quiere. Well,
Mhm.
I've been raised like that. Si tú quieres
Mhm.
hacerlo, lo vas a hacer. Y si no lo quieres hacer, es porque no quieres. You
Mhm.
don't want to do it. And that's why we named the band that. And even then, we played Plaza Mexico. Uh,
Mhm.
just before the pandemic hit, they had an event for por la independencia de México,
Oh,
las
wow.
fiestas patrias. And it was awesome. We played there. It was packed. You can even walk in there. And there were some hosts from Channel 52 there, and they
Mhm.
were the ones that conducting doing the emceeing, right? They were the masters of ceremonies, and they asked, tenemos una banda aquí, banda Quetzalcoatl, ¿saben quién es Quetzalcoatl? And the people were like crickets, man. They're like, they're like, I'm sure there were maybe some people that knew, but a lot of people were like, they weren't answering the question.
Disconnected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think there's still a lot of work to do,
Mhm.
especially for people that come. You would think that people that are coming fresh, new, would know more, but
Mm.
a lot of them don't.
Right.
A lot of them are still not, still with blindfolds. They don't know about our history, and
Still
even
demonizing indigenous
they do.
culture.
They do. You know what's funny? When we toured Mexico, um, they did. We were at this radio station, and the host was like, um, telling us, you guys. He brought up the way we talk too. He's like, um, ustedes no hablan bien. Like ustedes no hablan el español bien. A ustedes hablan muy raro. No se les entiende bien. So I rebutted with, well, what does it matter? People from Cuba speak differently. People from
Mhm.
Argentina speak differently.
Mhm.
So what does it matter? And on top of that, it's not even our language. We've been colonized. This
Right.
language is a European language.
Right.
So really, what does it matter?
Two
You know?
colonized languages in the
Yeah,
South. Right.
right. So why even point out that my
Mhm.
Spanish isn't like yours, and it's
Mhm.
funny or whatever? Those are petty things, man. I told
Right.
him those are petty, man. It
Ooh.
doesn't really matter. And
Yeah.
then he was like, "You're right." I mean, we really should be speaking Nahuatl or
Mhm.
some form of Nahuatl, you
Mhm.
know, Indo Nahuatl language.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Yeah, you're right." But those little things, when we do it to each other, it
Mhm.
doesn't help. We just
No, it
need to
doesn't.
accept each other. We need to accept who we are. We need to accept how we speak, because
Mhm.
that's not a product. That's a product of colonialism, not of our
Absolutely.
choosing.
Mhm.
So it's
Absolutely.
really
Yeah,
important that we do that.
we did not choose our current experience of or what country we were born into, what languages our families spoke. But we do choose going forward who we are, what we learn. I think that's what really drew me to your band, because your ethos, right, is front and center. That identity that you're digging into. You wear it proudly, and that comes across even on the social media platforms, right? Because this is the first time we're talking face to face, so I gravitate toward that because how long it took it took me and my family's been in this part of the planet for like 100 years, and it took that long. I'm not 100 years old, obviously, but like it took me that long to learn that the place that we live currently is called Sehatna, that it's unceded Tongva territory. All these things are important to me. So I love what you're doing. I love what you're about. And you're not just doing covers, you're creating original music,
Right.
you
Most
know?
most of our
That's
most of our
beautiful.
music is original.
Yeah.
When we started, what I did was with the musicians, because most of all of us, um, we play rock, and we're into rock and hip hop.
Mhm.
Growing up, especially most of us grew up in the 80s and 90s. That's what was around.
That's
Maria, obviously,
Mhm.
norteño, but in the English world, we were into rock and hip hop.
Mhm.
So that's what we were into. So I was like, vamos a aprendernos un montón de cumbias, Rigo Tobar, all that stuff. And a lot of them were like, this is I'm not used to playing this stuff.
Right.
But the more we played it, the more comfortable we got with it. And the more it helped us. So when we wrote our own music, we could put a dash of that in there because it's part of us,
That's right.
So that's what this band is about. Our band does not um enlist or subscribe to any one genre. I think that's a cop out, man. That's a sellout, man. You're selling out. Why, just because some record label with some Europeans in there wants you to sell to the, we're gonna sell to the Latinos. Like, why? Why are you gonna if play what makes you happy, play what's in your soul, play who you are. Don't start playing cumbias because, hey man, that's what they want to, that's what the Vachos want us, or for the part, play what you are, man. Like, no disrespect to anybody who does it. If that's what you like, if that's what's in your soul, play it. But if you're doing it for ulterior motives, like to get money, to get popular, to get, I mean, that's fake, man. That's fake. I don't agree with that. We do what we are. You get what we are. We're not gonna lie on stage, man. When we go up there, we get political. We talk about things. I don't care who's around. I don't care what. If you're offended by it, then maybe you should look in the mirror. Maybe you're the one with the problem. We had a show in Riverside, and some people, I heard it because when I started talking, I heard people start laughing, and like all of us at first, like it was kind of uncomfortable at first, but I was like, man, this is the truth. This is the truth. This is our land. Right. Don't ever let nobody tell you to go back to where. This is my land.
Yeah.
My people have been here. We have roots here, real roots. And, and one thing I always say when we play live, I always say it because I'm not about unfairness. I think everything should be fair. And when people come up to me, I even do it in my day job because I have to be real to me.
Right.
I don't believe in African Americans. I don't believe in Asian Americans, Mexican Americans. I don't believe in calling people, I'm black, you're white. There's nobody white. Have you ever seen a person that's white? I've never seen anybody white. I've seen pink people. I've never seen anybody black as a shadow. Those people don't exist. That's a label that needs to go, man. There's only, but if the people that are in power, if you want to hyphenate everybody, Mexican American, okay, then do it to you too. Then you're European American. So I do that to people. Like when they're like, oh, I'm white. No, you're not. You're not white. You're European American.
And I bet that makes them uncomfortable.
Obviously the people that are more aware, they're like, you're right. Yeah, you're right. But there are some people that are like, I'm not from Europe. I'm like, yeah, you are. You're not from here. You're from Europe. If we're gonna use your terminology, okay, I'm American. I'm not a Native American. I'm American, and you're a European American. If you're gonna call everybody African American, okay, let's call them African American. But you're European American.
Como duele.
Yeah, and I tell everybody, don't be afraid. They're not afraid to tell you to go back to Mexico. Go back to Africa, go back to, they don't hesitate. They don't think twice. The people that are in that negative mindset, they don't think twice about doing it. So why should we?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
just
not
reflecting back their reality.
I'm not down to harass or accost anybody, but if they're gonna come at me, then I'm gonna come at you back. And a lot of them also are very ignorant about the history. They don't know either because everything that's in school is not geared towards us. Right. The history is written by the victors, and they're going to write it to best suit their needs and reflect what they want you to believe, right? So they're going to write it in a way that's going to put them in a good light. And a lot of them are ignorant because I had conversations with people that were like, I went to Kmart, and when Kmart was around, this happened years ago, and they were talking in Spanish over the speaker, and I'm like, dude, why does that bother you so much? Because we're in America. I'm like, first off, America is the whole continent. There's no country named America. Yes,
Right.
there is. No, there's not. This is the United States of America, but it's
Right.
not. The country's not named America. The
Mm-mm.
whole continent is America. Like
That's right.
if you meet a European, they'll tell you like, "Oh, I'm European." No matter if they're from England, from Germany, I'm European.
Mhm.
Same thing with us in this continent. If you're Argentinian, you're American. If you're
Mhm.
Salvadorian, you're American. We're all Americans here. And
Mhm.
second, you know, this is what happens because of the history. The
Right.
the roosters have come home to roost.
Woo.
No, you Europeans came over here. They displaced the people that were here. They brought Africans here. They took Mexican land. But you don't want Mexicans. You don't want the natives here. You don't want black people here or Africans here. But you brought the Africans.
Mhm.
The natives were here before, and the Mexicans were here before. You don't want none of them, but we were all here before.
Mhm.
So how does that make any sense? This is all you're doing. And the demographics are changing, ever changing, and more people of other races, ethnicities, nationalities, they get hip to the history, they understand it. And
Mhm.
because I mean, you can't stop reality from happening, you
Mhm.
know, and you either have to accept it or you're gonna be in a whole lot of pain
Right.
emotionally because you're gonna have emotional problems because you're going to see the culture swing a different way. And
Right.
that's where we're headed, with all these protests, with all these gender equality, racial equality, all of these things that are happening. It's good because we're going to become a more acceptable society, and we're going to be more tolerate we're going to tolerate more people. And when you do that, you get interact with more people, exchange ideas, and
Mhm.
make the world a better place.
Yeah.
That's what's happening right now. There's a lot of people that are not that are fighting it.
Absolutely fighting it. Yeah. And it's just any it's a death moment, right? Because it's this paradigm that has not been working, never worked for a chosen few, right? And it's a painful slow death, unfortunately. But something beautiful will come of that. I absolutely hope that too. And just as you were talking about the roosters coming home, my neighbor's rooster sang his song, so that's a good confirmation.
Yeah, I
I hope
mean,
you two picked it up.
no, I didn't hear it, but that's great news.
Yeah, no, I
On
like
my
that.
end, I had a car that's been honking off and on, but maybe that's our over here our way of having our roosters come home to
It's
roost too.
cheering for you. It's cheering for you. Yeah, I love it. No, and I love that you're not shying away from the political. A lot of people might turn that dial down in themselves if they're a public figure. Artists are public figures. But I love that you're stepping up to the mic and you're standing and speaking in your truth, and that it absolutely is infused in your music. Talk about infusion.
Right, right. Some of our songs do have some powerful lyrics in them. We have a song called Las Cosas del Mal,
Hmm.
and that song is all about colonialism.
Hmm.
And we have another song called Tezcatlipoca, and that one's very political too. It talks about how the Europeans came, settled, stuck a pole on this land, and called it their land, when nobody in reality owns land. How can you own the
Right.
rock? How can you
And
own the ocean?
mm,
All these things that are European mentality, right? You put borders up. I mean, who does that? Who does that? When people nowadays you say, "Oh, you own this plot of land," or this, my parents or my people own this plot of land for years, but who sold it? Who sold them that land? How did
right.
they get that land? I
Mm,
mean, think about it. They just came and said, "This is my land."
right.
Put a thing, put a fence around it or whatever,
Mm,
and you're like, "Well, I've had this land." You don't own it, and that's one thing that we need to really understand, that you don't, like the submarine thing, right? Remember the submarine that happened? That's embedded in colonialism. That
yeah.
submarine thing. Let's go out and explore in there and spend a lot of money and leave the ocean alone, dude.
And pollute it while we're at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't mess with
Harm.
Mother Earth, man.
Mm-hmm.
Let it be. There's a reason why we're not fish, right? We don't belong in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no need to go down there, spend millions of dollars because you have it.
Millions.
Yeah,
Right.
because you have it, and do things that make no sense. Why do
Right.
you want to go see the Titanic in there, which is pollution in the ocean, right?
Exactly.
Why are you
Yeah.
gonna go see it? I mean, it's past. It happened. I'm sorry about those people that died. Let's move forward. Let's not do something like that anymore. There's
Mm,
a lot of things that are still like a plague
mm,
hindering us,
yeah.
and we need to really wake up, And anybody that I meet, I always bring it up. I always bring up the history, and I
Mhm.
even have people that are like my one of my kids was like, "Here you go, Dad, again with like all of that stuff," because you need to understand it.
Yeah.
You need to. Right now, you're like rolling your eyes because you're a kid, but as you grow older, you're gonna look back and reflect and be like, "Yeah, I know my history.
Right.
I know my people. I know where
Mhm.
I come from." You there's no more power than the power itself that you have once you know who you are.
That's right. It's such an empowering place. Absolutely. Absolutely. And to respect one another. You're talking about tolerance and that acceptance, equally important to
It
know
is.
who we
It's
are and to recognize the sacred worth and value of someone else, of another
definitely,
human
man.
and other sentient beings.
Definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
um, growing up, I'm a big soccer fan, and that's another thing I never liked. Like going to a soccer thing like Mexico contra El Salvador,
Mm.
whatever, and then people start getting all racial,
Yes, they
or
did. Woo.
like why are you hating on a Salvadorian person, and why are
Mm.
you, if you're Salvadorian, you're hating on Mexica?
Mhm.
We were all together. We were all
Right.
united.
Yeah.
There were runs that were done from Tenochtitlan all the way to Guatemala to
Mhm.
get Quetzal feathers, to get
Mhm.
things to bring back to Tenochtitlan. We were connected.
Right.
So why are you all of a sudden like
Mhm.
they're them, we're us?
Mhm.
That is so ignorant.
It is. Yeah, the condor and the eagle will fly together again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not again. Today,
Today.
it's today because it's as easy to just go out there and be like, hermano, hermana. That's it.
That's right.
You're always gonna, we always need to be aware of
Mm.
the thin line we're walking. Yes. Are there people that are jerks out there? Yes. Are there
100%.
people that are bad guys out there? Bad women? Of course. There's bad and good everywhere. But
Mhm.
if somebody did something to you and also it happened to be Guatemalan, because Guatemalan has nothing to do with that person.
Right.
That person is whatever they did to you, that was that one person.
Mhm.
If you meet somebody, they're African American, they did something to you, that's that person.
Right.
That doesn't represent all African Americans, all Mexicanos, all Nicaraguenses. That we gotta, when we have those experiences, we need to make them about that individual and yourself,
Right.
not about you and a whole community of people.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah. It just xenophobia is not the way to go. It's gotten us into this mess and it's time to break free from that. And they are colonial chains. And I'm happy to see those chains breaking in this time. And I love that you say I'm gonna start saying that uh condor and eagle are flying today. That's a
they are.
reality today. It never stopped.
Yeah, Turtle Island never stopped.
No.
It's always been here. No one discovered nothing. I before even the whole native indigenous day happened. Like I was never celebrating Columbus.
That's right.
Never. When
Mm-mm.
I was a kid, I was all like, why is our currency called el colon?
Mhm.
Why do we have Christopher Columbus statues? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Why? And another thing, and this is going to be controversial, but I'm going to say it because I'm true.
Mm.
For me personally, I cannot subscribe to Catholicism or any of that. For me personally, what we need to do is, and the only reason I'm pinpointing Mexico is because I have roots there and it's our closest neighbor to the south. Destroy all the Catholic churches, do
Mm.
it now. We
Mm.
don't need that. If you want to be Catholic, if you want to continue to be Catholic, that's fine. That's your business. But a lot of churches that were the oldest churches in Mexico are built with temple rocks from our people. They
Mm.
they destroyed our temples and
Mm.
built Catholic churches with that.
That's right.
Talk about offensive. How
Yeah,
would you like it if we would have gone to Spain and destroyed your churches and built temples? You wouldn't
exactly.
like it. So
No,
why are we
so
still
sacrificial.
having these temples? These churches in Mexico need to go down, destroyed, and they need to, I don't know what, build temples in their place. The day that Mexico Tenochtitlan destroys all these churches and denounces Catholicism will be the truly day of freedom from
Mm,
colonial chains,
those
because
are the deepest chains, the spiritual ones.
it is because it's not true to us. That's
Mm,
not us. Like I said, everyone's free. If you want to become a Jew, if you want to become a Muslim, everyone's free to do their own thing. But when you have such an embedded thorn on your back
mm.
from a conquistador that raped your mother and said that, now you're in the name of God, that just doesn't play well with me.
It's
Does
manipulative. It's so
it is.
spiritually,
and
it's
and
spiritual abuse.
and you could say that, well, that happened many years ago, get over it, come on. You know what? That happened, but that pain of my ancestor getting killed, the children getting, becoming slaves, and all the women that were raped and used for uh, physical gratification, it's just disgusting.
It is.
And it lives with us because it lives in us, in people going to a Catholic church. It lives in us in a lighter skinned raza calling another one indio. Tú eres un indio, vete para allá, negro, indio. Like, are you
No fun.
serious? Nopal, dude, what do you think you are?
Right.
And I went to school in Roosevelt High School, and
Mm.
man, it was so ridiculous the way it was all sectioned off. Like the kids from East LA were like, "Oh, don't hang with them paisas, they're a bunch of indios." Like,
Mm.
dude, they're your people.
Internalized oppression, blinders on.
But
Absolutely.
it's that I don't have a problem with, believe it or not. I have a problem with you resisting the truth because you're
Mm.
ignorant or you don't know anything. Te la paso. Okay, but now you get educated and you still want to act that way, like you don't want to let it go. Then that's really something that says about you and our culture, our people.
Right.
So we need to stop doing those things. We need to, you know, the more we chastise people that do that,
Mm.
the better. Like if you're standing in line and somebody's like, I say, paisa, I say, who you calling a paisa, dude?
Mm.
You know, we need to, the more we stand up for each other, the better things are gonna get. And those
Right.
people are gonna be shamed,
Mm.
because a lot of people don't talk about it. Yeah, there's racists that treat our people bad, but we have some of the biggest racists or some of the biggest ignorant people in our own community.
That's right. Yeah. We saw that in LA City Council with the ridiculous bullshit coming out of the mouths of political leaders, brown ones.
And
Ooh.
it's, I don't know what else to say, but just so you know, right now I'm on the border edge of shedding a tear because that is painful.
It is
That is
very painful.
painful. What
Mm.
and I think I don't even want to say his name. That guy's still in there, right? He didn't ever quit.
Yeah. Yeah, the one of them is still in the
Yeah.
office. I'm
That person
not
whose
going
name
nowhere,
should not
holding
be
on by
mentioned.
fingertips.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, come on, man. Como dijo Benito Juárez, like el derecho al respeto sí, el, de- el derecho al respeto ajeno es la paz.
Mm.
You know, respect other people, respect their
That's right.
individuality. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with people living the life they want to live as long as they're not hurting anyone else.
Exactly.
And when you're ridiculing people, when you're calling people changuitos, when you're
Woo.
calling people out on their gender identity, on their sexuality, ¿qué te importa?
Right. It's
What
none of
is
your
it to
business.
you?
Mhm.
As long as they come and do their job and they treat you well and you treat them well, who cares? People need to get that in their head.
That's
Who
right.
cares?
Yeah. Time to do some inner work.
Yeah, I have
That's bothering you so
friends.
much. Why?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why? What is it doing to you? Once
Mhm.
again, that is colonialism. That is, I need to make you all the same. I need to make you all the same. Why? The world would be so boring if we were all the same.
That's right. Oh my God. It
It
just
would be lame.
monotone everywhere. No, thank
Yeah,
you. No
right,
colors.
right. I mean, but yeah, man. I mean, we need to. My message to everyone is: be you, respect other people, love other people, show your parents, your family love, even if some don't, reciprocate it. Do it. We have a lot of too much hate, too much misunderstanding, too much ignorance. Go against it. Go against that grain. Si alguien te hace, just accept them for who they are, because that's who they are. They're showing you who they are, and let them go.
Believe them and let them go.
And let them go. Eventually, they will learn, either by force or they'll see the light.
Yeah.
And be true to yourself anywhere you go, any forum you are in. Partake and be you. Don't hide yourself, because that's what allows other people to take advantage, and they don't have a problem speaking what they want to spew.
No.
So why should we?
Yeah. No more putting ourselves on a shelf. No more, covering our mouths. It's time to raise our voices. 100%.
Right. And educate everybody. Educate people.
Educate ourselves.
I had people upset with us, because we use some native instruments in our music. We use like la concha, and people were like, "Oh, that's sacred. You shouldn't be using it." This is, or we've used turtle shells. We've used, Aztec drum, and people got upset about it. This is my message to you. If you're upset because we're using native instruments combined with European instruments and African instruments, how else are we going to get our message out there? How else are we going to show other people the beauty of our culture? Okay, we weren't eating everybody. We weren't sacrificing everybody. We have a beautiful culture. There's beautiful poetry in Nahuatl. There's beautiful rhythms. There's beautiful drum beats. And there's beautiful instruments. If we don't use them in popular music to expose other people to it, they will never know. And some of our own people will never know, because they're so used to the accordion, they're so used to the tuba, which are not our instruments.
Right.
They're from Europe, and that's fine. But we need to also embrace our instruments that we developed hundreds of years ago. Bring them back. Put it in your cumbia, put it in your salsa, put it in your norteño. You could do it if you want. Get out of that mold. Break the mold.
Ooh. More
that.
Controversy from the mouth of Supakli. I love it. I love it.
I'm just saying, man. Come on.
I'm not here to judge. But I mean, I've heard that. I've heard that's only used in ceremony. That's only, I get that. And you're right. How else? And I know why we did it, to protect us, right? To protect, especially, you were talking earlier about like this spiritual paths, right? And how a spiritual tradition has been imposed on our people. But you're right. How are people going to know? How are people going to hear the sound of that concha?
Right. I mean,
the sound of those beats.
What makes me sad is if you go just to random people and tell them, what do you think about when you hear Mexican? The tacos, la banda, el mariachi, and it's fine. I'm okay with it, because we've adopted all of that. But really, really, that's not Mexica. That's not Mexican. Mexica, and that's another thing. Mexica is the real name of that country, Mexico. That's what it is. We're Mexicas. There's no Aztecs. That's a different story. But our people, they didn't call themselves Aztecas, Mexicas. And Mexico was named after the belly button of the moon. That's what Mexico is. The navel of the moon.
That's so beautiful.
That's what it stands for.
I'm going to have to write a poem about that now.
You should. You need to.
I love that.
And that's what it means. A lot of people, they say, soy orgulloso de ser mexicano. Man, I love all kinds of music. My thing is rock and cumbia. That's my thing. And I came across this hermana years ago, back in the 90s. We worked in the same retail company, and she was all into banda and norteño, and that's fine. Very pretty, very pretty. I remember thinking, wow, she's gorgeous. And we got into a conversation, and she said, oh, you're not Mexican. And I'm like, why? She goes, because every time I hear you like drive up when we're coming to work, you always have like that rock stuff. And I'm like, so what does that have to do with anything? She's like, yeah, because un mexicano en verdad, you're not going to listen to that. You're going to listen to like banda and norteño and whatever. And I was like, okay, let's go with that. Let's go with what you're saying. So vamos a ver quién es más mexicano entre tú y yo. Okay. I said, so we're going to do some questions right here on the spot. ¿Cuál es la fecha de independencia de México? And she straight out was like, 5 de Mayo. I'm like, dude, you're saying that you're more Mexican than me because because you haven't heard me listen to mariachi, norteño, or banda. You're not with me 24/7. So that's number one. Number two, you telling me that 5 de Mayo is independence from Mexico. She was, ay, pues yo no sé. I'm like, por eso, porque no sabes. La fecha de independencia de México es en septiembre, el 16 de septiembre, el 15 a la medianoche para echar el grito. Esa es la fecha de independencia. Porque yo escucho rock, o yo escucho cumbia, o yo escucho salsa, o yo hablo más inglés. Eso no significa que no soy mexicano. Lo que tú estás haciendo está mal. That's wrong. You're assuming. You're trying to box me in on something. No es así.
Fight the box.
Así no es como debemos de hacer. And then she was like, after that, she kind of changed a little bit, but I mean, we can't do that. We can't judge somebody or on their Mexicanism because they don't speak Spanish. And oh, that dude's not real Chicano or raza because they don't speak Spanish. Why does it matter?
Right.
They never learned it, or they never were taught. That doesn't make them less or more. Or that guy's not real native, or that gal is not native, or that person's not native because they're not part of a registered native. Why?
Card carrying.
They took that away from me.
Right.
So it's not my fault.
No.
I'm still indigenous, as indigenous as you are. We're not we're not all the same. We're all different. We have different experiences with our shared experiences. So it is important that once again we stand up and educate each other, even though sometimes it's painful or people have cognitive dissonance because they don't want. They're like, I lived all my life with this information. How can it be wrong? It's wrong. Let me tell you right now, it's wrong.
Yes, I talk about it, and we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's better to know what truth is than to live a lie. Sometimes I think that's why we're all we struggle with depression. We're struggling with our mental health, identity disorders, and whatnot. And do we know our history? Do we, and suffering the repercussions, all this lineage and of family traumas, right? That live in our bodies and live in our family structures. Time to get uncomfortable, right? And
Absolutely.
to learn what the truth is. And yeah, absolutely. We could talk forever, and I would love to compare notes like of any indigenous awakening. I'm working on a book right now about just that moment of what did you call it? Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, cognitive
and the
dissonance.
spiritual stuff is what got me, because I don't know if you know this about me. I used to be a pastor within a very white mainline Christian church. So I was totally invested, and then spent some time in Honduras and was face to face with the condor, and my entire life changed. you
That's
know,
beautiful.
just a wild awakening. And it's been a rebuilding ever since. 7 years, it's been a rebuilding. But much of what you're saying resonates, but it's so uncomfortable and it's so painful, but it's worth it. It's just
Yeah.
like birth. Birth is painful, and
Yeah.
none of the mothers regret it.
No,
Well, you know.
like you were saying real quick, like our culture is like a baby.
Mm,
When you have a baby, you want to protect it. You don't,
mhm,
oh, don't go out. And the child is getting older, you also want to be like, don't go across over there. Don't do, you don't want them to scrape their knee. You want to protect them. But that's not how it should be. Our
right.
culture, let it go out there.
Mhm,
Let it go out there. And all those people that are like, oh, that's you're like, you're backstabbing our culture. No, I'm not.
mhm,
No, I'm not. You're backstabbing our culture. You're hijacking the culture and not letting anybody share in the beauty of it.
that's right.
You're the culprit. I'm not the culprit.
Mm,
I'm sharing because I love it.
mhm,
That's why.
mhm,
You are no, just no, no, no.
right.
Our dances, our tribal beats
Mm,
have been stolen. Some of them have been forgotten
mm,
because of oppression, because of slavery, because of all this. And now it's coming out, and you're still trying to protect something that doesn't need protection.
mhm,
Our scents, our food, our real music, our music that came from our ancestors, you know, it is not meant to be silenced. It's been
mhm.
silenced too long.
Too long, too long. Yeah.
And you're mad at me because I'm using it in a cumbia. Shut up. Shut up. You're you are not if you're not going to contribute, shut up.
Mm,
You know, I'm not going to say that I do feel that there are some things that are sacred. I'm not going to deny that, but el acto de que yo estoy usando un tambor,
mhm,
or I'm using a beat that is oh, that sounds like this one beat from our danza group. Okay, did it ever occur to you that I'm not in an Aztec danza group? I don't do that. But did it ever occur to you that I'm so connected to my ancestors that it just came pouring out of me?
mm,
Did it ever occur to you that that could have happened?
right.
That I have a connection with my people, with my
Mm,
ancestors, and
mm,
it flowed through me.
that's
Because
right.
that's what music is. That's what art is. When you sit down and pen something, you're
Mhm,
writing, and sometimes
mm,
it's from your ancestors. Your
that's right.
ancestors are talking to you, and you're like, "Oh shit, this is this is true. This is real." So they're talking to me to push this out there, and you're telling me to suppress it?
Can't get it.
No,
Not gonna happen.
it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna be suppressed by Europeans, by Africans, by Asians, especially by my own people. I'm
Mm,
not gonna do it.
mm.
I'm not. I'm
Silent
not.
no more.
Yeah, and the reason I included all those other people too is because I'm also sick and tired of people who are trying to hijack our culture. The
Mm,
Afrocentrics that are coming out spewing lies about that Africans were here first, and that this the Olmecs were Africans, and it's
mm.
not true.
I
It's
haven't
a
even heard
lie.
that one. Wow.
It's a lie.
Mm,
It is a lie.
mm,
Okay, that is not true. It is not. It's a fallacy. There is no scientific proof of any Asians stepping land in Central America, or
mm,
any Africans stepping on this continent before the slave trade.
mm.
There were none.
It's wild. I wonder about these things. That's the thing about the internet. Like all of a sudden, all these different narratives step into play, and you're like, "What is the truth?" The truth is, we need to do our research,
Right.
right?
Do our research, and once you do the research, speak on it.
Mm,
No te quedes callado. Don't be, well, I don't want to cause conflict with our brothers over there. I'm going to cause conflict because they think it's conflict. It's not conflict for me because I'm
mm,
telling you the truth. But
mhm,
when you come over here and tell me that the Mexica are black people, I'm not going to roll with that, bro.
mm,
Not. It's
mm.
unacceptable. I don't go telling you, like beginning of our conversation, I said cumbia, salsa, merengue, it's African.
Mhm.
I'm not telling you a lie. Why would I lie? So, I respect other people's cultures and their contributions to our culture. But you also need to respect our culture and our contributions that we've made. And
Respect.
when you start talking about we did all this, you're sounding no better than the Europeans that say that they discovered everything and they created everything and they invented everything, which is a lie.
Empire thinking, period, is messes with our head.
It's a lie.
Empire building.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we
Mhm.
need to let that go. And if you're gonna unfriend me or not be cool with me because I'm telling you the truth, then I'm good with that. I'm
We're
good
good
with
with
that.
it. We're good with it.
Good with it. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. Oh man, I wish we had the music, but we can chat all day about these things. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to express. Um not just in music but also in conversation, and I love that you're speaking truth even when it's difficult, even when it can be controversial and confrontational, but you're 100% right. We can't be silent anymore. We've been silent and buried for too long, and this is a time of blossoming for a lot of artists in particular. So I'm
Love it.
so grateful you made the time today, Sipakli. Everyone, you've been listening to Sipakli Nezahualcóyotl, the band Quetzalcoatl Band,
On
playing
point.
tonight.
Playing tonight in Maywood at the Bricks Rock Bar. So we have a lot of shows coming up. We have a lot of things happening. We're in the studio, and we probably are going to be releasing the new album next year, early next year. And
Wonderful.
we only have a couple of shows left this year because we are going to concentrate on the rest of the album. We
Mhm.
want to make sure that gets done and released. And we are going to be releasing probably from that album about 5 new music videos. So
Beautiful.
be ready for that. Before also we close this out, I do want to mention the name of the band members.
Please do.
Jesse Two Feathers is the drummer. Sammy Bass Hands is our bass player. Frank Martinez is the timbales and percussion. And my son, Tristan, he is the conguero. So those are the members at this time. And like I said, the band's always ever changing, but and all the other band members who have come across, they're always part of the band as well. Like Anomaly Productive, he's always in and out. Boris, if he comes back, he's gonna be Grino. Chocolatl, he is a bass player. He plays with us on and off. He's a nothing but love for that brother. So yeah, come visit us at www.quetzalcoatlbandmusic.com. And if you can't say Quetzalcoatl or Quetzalcoatl, you could say Quetzalcoatl too. It's fine. Nothing's gonna happen. The world's not gonna come to an end. And if somebody tells you you're not pronouncing it right, just turn around and ask them, were you there when the Mexica were alive and thriving? Do you know how they spoke?
Ooh.
Chances are they won't. They won't. So as long as you try, thank you for pronouncing the words correctly. It's been a pleasure being on your show. I love what you're doing. I love that you are interviewing all these talented poets and that are speaking their truth, on their time. And it's time for society at large to make time for their time.
That's right.
And that's what we're doing. You're an inspiration because it is hard work to do what you do. And I want to give you a big glaso kamati for allowing us to do this today.
Lasso Kamati, thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Thank you for again making the time for what you're doing. Also an inspiration. Maybe we'll collab one of these days in a live event. Some music, some poetry, some spoken word. That would be my dream. And of course, our vendors out there, because we've got a lot of beautiful artisans doing and small business owners just, changing the economy because we've got to. We're all we got, right? So Sipakli, thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful show tonight and looking forward to that next album, 2024.
Simón, Simón.
Simón, que es verdad. All right, everyone, you've been listening to Friday Fire. I'm your host, Brenda Vaca. We'll be back next Friday. We'll see if we're on Instagram or YouTube. I'm loving this YouTube because we're able to share it farther and wider. Not everyone's on the Insta. So grateful that you all are rolling with the punches. Sipate, thank you again so much for speaking your heart, for speaking your truth, and for educating us. Because again, in a lot of ways, some people that hear this might be hearing these words, these stories, these histories, these experiences for the first time. And like you say, that can make our world a more beautiful, tolerant place. So thank you. And everyone, we'll see you next week. Peace, love. Take care.